Okay, everybody. Today I have with me on the podcast Susan Neal. Susan is an RN with a master's in health science and an MBA. After suffering a health crisis, she became an author and health coach to provide others with the tools they needed to heal their bodies and reclaim their ideal weight. She is an award-winning and best-selling author. She's been featured in many media outlets, including CTN's Bridges TV show, WATC TV, Atlanta Live, and Friends and Neighbors, Charisma Magazine, as well as numerous podcasts and radio shows. Welcome, Susan.
Thanks so much for having me, Debbie.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you on. It's been a long time since I've seen you. We met many years ago at Advanced Speakers and Writers Association. So I'm just super excited to finally reconnect with you with this new book. Now, the first question, however, I always ask my guests is, can you tell us something about yourself, a fun fact, maybe that's not on your bio?
Yes, so I am a country girl. I grew up in the middle of an orange grove and 15 acres. I'd ride horses, have a German shepherd, swim in a pond, and I love gardening and I love hiking, camping. So I may not look like it, but I'm a country girl.
I love that. And it's so good to be able to get out in nature. Now, where did you grow up, did you say?
San Antonio, Florida. It's 30 miles north of Tampa, Florida.
Okay, I did not know that. So that sounds amazing. Like amazing childhood. We need to have our younger children. I have grandchildren now, and my daughter is really good at getting them outside so that they're not on screens or just being unhealthy and not moving their bodies. But although she has two boys, so they pretty much move at all times. No one has to tell them to move. But I think that sounds like a very, very wonderful and pleasant childhood. Well, today we are talking about your newest book, 12 Ways to Age Gracefully: How to Look and Feel Younger. And I was looking over the book, and I just have to read the beautiful dedication you have in the front.
Wow.
I dedicate this to my mother-in-law, Sue Neal, who inspired me to broaden my medical-driven perspective to a holistic approach to prevent disease, live longer, and stay healthier your entire life. You know, it just struck me how beautiful that is, because often in midlife I hear women complaining about their mother-in-laws, but how beautiful that yours inspired you in this book.
She did, and her and I are on the cover, and she's 87 and on the cover, and currently she's 91 and she still lives independently alone in her own home.
I love that. I love that. One of my mom's dearest friends is 104, and she still lives in her own home. She's getting a little tired, but she is doing great. She does great. So it's amazing. Yeah, that's
Yes, it
amazing. She has
is.
wonderful health. Well, often, especially in midlife, I think we are all looking for ways to age more gracefully. Was there a catalyst, though, that inspired this particular book?
Yes, so when I was 49, like midlife and with that 100, right? Halfway.
Right.
I had an abscess tooth and I didn't know it. They had to crown a tooth and we didn't know that it became abscessed. And 9 months later, it was found. But the month after I had the crown, I had depression and then I had adrenal fatigue, a hole in my retina, emergency surgery. I was anemic. There was 10 medical diagnoses and two surgeries within a year and 3 months. So I lost my health. I had no idea how valuable my health was until it was gone. It took me over a year to recover it. And so I have a heart and compassion for those who have lost their health. And so I'm on a mission to inspire others to improve their health so they can serve God better.
Well, tell me, how did you know that your health decline was connected to that abscess tooth? How did they
Because,
figure that out?
because it was like every single month afterwards, I had a new medical diagnosis. Prior to that, I had never had any. health
Wow.
issues whatsoever. And then they found it and they're like, oh, we have to do, an emergency root canal. They put me on antibiotics, steroids. And then I got a candida overgrowth in my gut, which caused me to crave sugar and carbs. And candida is a yeast. And so I was just a mess, but it took time and it took my nursing. I'm an RN and I have a master's in health science. And it took that knowledge and trying different alternative healthcare methods to recover my health.
And I'm so glad that you did. Now you talk about, let's talk about the importance of gastrointestinal tract health, basically your gut health. You
Yeah.
talk a lot about how it's eating to live longer. You explain that the gut health is just vital for that. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes. So twice in my life, I've had a bug in my gut. Okay.
Like a
One of
parasite?
them, well, one of them was candida, which is a yeast.
Okay.
And so with the candida, that was when you take an antibiotic. And after I took the antibiotic for my tooth, then it stripped all the good probiotics out of my gut. And this bad guy, candida, overgrows. He loves sugar, refined carbohydrates, and alcoholic beverages. He doesn't care what you consume, but it is a monster in your gut, and you have no control over your appetite. So
Wow.
I created a quiz your listeners could check to see if they might have this in their GI tract. It's called candyquiz.com. That is CANDI quiz.com. So then the second bug I had in my gut with was H. pylori, and that's a really bad gut bacteria. So it's a bacteria.
Okay.
So, yeah, I had a yeast and a bacteria. I didn't have the other kind of bug that you
Parasites.
talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, the parasite. No, I didn't have that.
Oh, that's
But
good.
the H. pylori, I had to get on two different antibiotics and a protein pump inhibitor and take it for, like 2 weeks. It was a hard regime to recover from. And expensive to do the test to find out if you had it, et cetera, and then to be retested and make sure that it was gone. So we had, when we were born, this perfect balance of microorganisms in our gastrointestinal tract, but through antibiotics, it messes it all up. Plus, probably the dyes or different medications, dyes in foods, different medications, all sorts of stuff that we consume. So it's hard to get your your GI tract in balance. So what you do is it's good to take a probiotic supplement. When you take a supplement, you take one with 10 different microorganisms. And after you finish that one, you especially do this after you've had antibiotics.
Okay.
After you take that one, you bring the bottle with you back to the health food store and you check and you get a different bottle and make sure that microorganisms are different.
Really? No, I've never heard that.
hmm And then you can't get all of your probiotics from a supplement. You need to eat sauerkraut or kimchi. In addition, you need to eat a more diverse diet of plant foods. So I eat or drink a fruit smoothie probably 4 or 5 mornings a week, and I put like 8 to 10 different fruits and vegetables in it
Wow.
because that is what the probiotics eat. It loves the plant. It loves the fiber. And it's really good for your digestive tract. And so what I do is I just buy some fruits when they're on sale. I freeze them and I just pick out one of each fruit. And I just think, oh, I am fertilizing my gut buddies in my digestive tract.
Well, what are some of the symptoms of an unhealthy gut? Can you tell the listeners that?
Belching, Heartburn. All I had was belching. That was
Really?
it. Hmm. That was it. Now that was with the H. pylori. With the candida, I craved the refined carbohydrates. But you could have gas, bloating. Um, you could have, headaches. You could have different types of You could have to where food just goes right through you. Um,
Mm. Now, a lot of people
Pain.
think that gas and bloating is just normal when they eat their food, and it's
No,
not. It
no,
is
none of
not.
that is normal. Even just belching is not normal. So as we age, it's beneficial to take a digestive enzyme with our food, especially if we're eating meat, because it's hard to digest that meat. And if we don't have enough of the digestive enzymes, then the meat it kind of goes bad as it goes through our digestive system. So, taking digestive enzymes would help. And noticing, are you having bloating and gas after you have dairy? I'm lactose intolerant. And
Uh-huh.
so I don't consume dairy because I don't want those bad symptoms.
Right. Yes, I think probably most of us are starting to learn at this season where we have so much information on the internet that we're learning that we need to think about how be present to our feelings, how our body
Mhm.
feels after we eat certain kinds of foods as we're going through midlife, especially because our bodies do change. So let's shift just a little bit and talk about brain health because I know you do. She has 12 different chapters on and we can't cover them all, of course, of the different ways of aging gracefully. But I would like to talk a little bit about brain health because most of us notice mild cognitive decline as we age. So, what are some of the contributing factors that you have found are related to that?
A high sugar diet and wheat, both of those will cause you to have brain fog.
Really?
So, yeah. So if you have an interview coming up or something, don't consume high sugar foods or any kind of bread because that really, and I mean, you just can notice it. So just kind of check after you have had that. And it also makes you like just really plummet with energy and be irritable. But another contributing factor is periodontal disease. So it's important for us to get cleanings twice a year, especially as we age, to make sure that we don't have any bad bacteria in our gums, because that type of bacteria has been seen in the brains of those who have died from Alzheimer's and dementia.
Wow, I did not know that. And I was
Mhm.
just at the dentist yesterday. And I even asked, the dental hygienist, "So, tell me, are there certain things that we really need to be doing midlife? You know, does our dental health change?" And she didn't she said, "I don't know, I'll have to research that."
Well, now you can tell her.
Yeah, I did not know that,
Yes.
that was a
Yeah.
contributor to Alzheimer's, or they're finding that people have that.
Yes.
And what is that disease? Is it just b from bacteria in the mouth?
Well, periodontal disease, it's like we have the redness and the inflammation, and your gums start to recede, and your dentist will let you know about it.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they'll probably give you a really pungent mouthwash to try and start killing that bacteria. So it's a bad bacteria.
Well, that's
So
excellent to know for that. And what kind of activities besides taking care of our teeth, what kind of activities do you recommend to help strengthen our mental stamina and prevent cognitive decline?
exercise. It really does. I just went out this morning for 20 minutes, did a whole bunch of laps, and that cardiovascular is just wonderful. It really pushes through in all of our arteries, and so exercise is just unrefutably so healthy for you. And then some other things are like vitamin levels. Um, Vitamin D and vitamin B12 are two levels that if you get low with those, then you'll have some cognitive decline. And then
Mm.
you'll boost them back up and it'll be like, oh, I'm remembering where I put my keys.
And then what about games, mental games that challenge our thinking? Is that helpful with strengthening our mental decline?
Absolutely. So I have an app on my phone that's specifically for that. And then also puzzles. Puzzles, either crossword puzzles or puzzles that you put on a table and put together. And also learning, reading, anything that has that mental stimulation is healthy for the brain.
That's good knowledge. I wouldn't have thought about puzzles, but you know what? I struggle with puzzles, but finding the right pieces, that's a lot of mental strain there. So that's really good to know.
Yeah, my daughters and I have one daughter who still lives at home. And so her and I do it together. I'm really great at like putting all the same colors together in this area. And then she snaps it all
My
together.
husband is fabulous at puzzles. His brain works differently than mine, so I just separate all the pieces. And I could do a section when I find, a particular item in the puzzle, but he definitely just has an eye to know where things go very quickly. He can do the outside edges and fast. Like he can just
Yeah,
see it. And so we just see things differently, which is
that we
great. So
do.
we can
We
work
do.
together. Well, stress and toxins also wreak havoc on our health, and we are exposed to environmental toxins every day. And you do talk about those in your book. What are some of them, and how do you recommend avoiding them?
Well, even just in your own home, you could use a HEPA filter. So I bought a couple of them. I have one in my bedroom. I run it at night. It's great white noise, but it just filters your air. Recently, I had my air conditioning ducts cleaned. It had been 30 years, so my home
Wow.
really needed that done. And so your water, we shouldn't drink out of plastic bottles. We should, drink glass, get your glass. And I just got a reverse osmosis system for underneath my kitchen sink. It's something that I have really wanted for a while. And that just filters out all of the bad stuff. You can put a filter behind your refrigerator, which I've done that for years as well. And then plastic water bottles, they're finding more and more. There was actually a study in January 2024 that showed little microscopic particles of plastic in many of the plastic water bottles.
Really?
Hmm.
Even the BPA
Yes. Well,
free, they've always been saying that's the safe version.
this is like a new microscope that was able to see very minute particles that you can only see in a microscope. And they have found, in studies with drawing blood, that humans do have plastic in their body.
Crazy. That's just crazy. And I was really surprised when I was reading your book that the European Union has banned over 1,600 chemicals, but only 9 of those in the United States.
I know. It's like we have to be our own advocate.
We do. We do. We absolutely do. Well, let's talk a little bit about balancing hormones since we are on midlife crescendo. And most women who are listening to the podcast are between the ages of 40 and 60 and above. What are some of the things that you have found are the biggest hormone disruptors, and how can we get back on track?
So, age is one of them. I mean, that is how our hormones decline. That's the way that God made us. But an
Right.
actual disruptor is going to be your plastics. Prior to the 1950s, we really used glass. I can still remember when the milkmen delivered milk in bottles on right
Yes.
by the front door. Do you remember?
Yes.
Yes. So we never had milk in plastic. So we wanted that is probably the major hormone disruptor.
And you talk about toxins. And I was wondering, is there a way to expel toxins from the body, or have you found ways to expel toxins from the body?
Yes, and so it's a very natural method, and this is the way God makes things so simple. It's sweating. It's the
Really?
simple act of sweating. And so go out and garden, go out and walk, get out there and lay out in the sun, get some vitamin D and sweat, but come in right away and shower. Because if you leave it on your skin for hours, that toxin that you just sweated is going to be reabsorbed back into the body.
Wow, I did not know that.
hmm And if you, I like to go into an infrared sauna. And so, with the infrared sauna, it has a way to really make you sweat a lot in a short period of time. And so that's what I do. I usually go lay out in the sun for 20 minutes on each side, get a little bit of vitamin D, and then go into the sauna and sweat another 20 minutes and then get to the shower.
That's really good information to have. Now, tell me, with your journey back to health, I know that you have 12 ways to help us to age gracefully, but what would you say are like the top 3 or 4 things we need to be doing to make sure that we're aging well?
And so I kind of loaded my book that way. Number one is your diet. Number two is your gut health, because your gut health also has to do with your mental health. Because if you don't have a good diversity of probiotics in your gut, your mental health is going to suffer.
Mhm.
So, two is the microbiome, the GI tract. And then three is physical exercise. And four is the brain health. So, those four, I loaded the beginning of the book with those four because I feel as though those four are most important. And then next is being aware of your toxins
Mm,
because we have more toxins today than we ever have.
absolutely. Just in our environment.
And you know, also with the toxins, we have to think about what we put on our skin. And so I got an app on my phone. And when I was writing this book last year, I was like, okay, I'm going to check every single cosmetic, every single skincare product. And with this app, it will let you know if it's has, toxic chemicals in it or not. So I was throwing some things out. And then when I went to the store to buy more cosmetics, then I used my app to check the back of it for it to come up to tell me if it contained toxins or not.
Well, that's a great tool. Now, what's the name of that app?
In the book, there's like three or four apps that I have listed
Okay,
because
great.
there's several.
Okay, great. Well, we are so glad that you've been here today. Do you have anything else you'd like to share with our listeners about aging gracefully?
I would say that, but for me, when I was 49 and I suffered that health crisis, it was like I was at a crossroads. I was either going to go to the right and gain a whole bunch of weight and, get chronic diseases and just, my life would have been quite different. Or I could be my own healthcare advocate and research and figure out and do what I needed to do to get rid of the candida, to restore my vitamin levels, to have my surgeries. So I chose to go to the other way, which was to work to restore my health. And don't lose hope. So I have this Bible verse about hope, and I got it when I was 50 years old, when I had lost my health for my 50th birthday. And it's Isaiah 40:31. Those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. I just put my hope in the Lord that someday I would run again and not be weary, that someday I would walk again and not be faint. It took over a year, but I did. And there's hope for you as well.
Well, thank you so much for being here with us today. Where can my listeners find you and your book online?
So they can go to my website, Susan U, that's the letter U, Neal, Neal.com. SusanUNeal.com.
Okay, great. Thanks so much for being with us today and sharing all that great information.
Thanks so much, Debbie.